If you can ensure your cell phones are off or on silent, I would appreciate it. Council members, ensure your microphones are turned on. All right, welcome to today's meeting. It's a committee of the whole meeting. It's January 6th, 2025. Hope everybody had a good Christmas and New Year. In this committee of the whole meeting, just to let everybody know, we are going to run through all of our committees today to kind of get back on track and reset the schedule for the rest of the year. With that said, before we do our committee of the whole meeting, we do have individual committee meetings this evening, and we'll start with street, sidewalk, and lighting with Mrs. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today is January 6, 2025. It's a Monday at 6:01 p.m. Everybody here, except for the vacant seat in the committee, and everybody on council, and guests noted on my sheet. We have, I didn't count, topics for discussion tonight. Requested legislation. A letter from Michael Tiadecki, city engineer, requesting legislation to enter into contract with Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for improvement of Van Buren and nearby area to install and rebuild sidewalk. Emergency wording is requested. Please see request. Do I have any remarks from my committee on this guy?
I think your president, council president does.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't want to step on any toes. Thank you, Chair. We were just looking this up and was wondering if you can provide the areas specifically that these sidewalks will be going on and off of Van Buren.
Did we not include a map with that?
No.
Oh,
We looked up the PIDs, but just wanted to make sure.
The map was
I
in
thought we
the,
did, I'm sorry.
the map was in the email.
I think it was in the email,
Okay.
yeah, but not in,
Okay.
it's not in front of us.
So it'd be North Van Buren from East Tusk to Lake, east side of the road. East Tusk Avenue from North Van Buren to First Street. East Park Avenue from North Van Buren to First Street. And East Castle from North Van Buren to First Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chiedecki. Thank you, Chair.
Can I ask you a question really quick? So does that mean there aren't going to be any installed from Fairview to First? So from Fairview to First Street, there aren't going to be any? Going along Van
Not with
Buren?
this project.
Is that something that we can do in the future? I feel there's a lot of people that walk there, and there's no lights right there at night. I drive there quite a bit at night, and there's quite a bit of people that walk through there. There's just, it's a little bit dangerous through there. So.
Agreed, and we're actually going to work with planning department to set up some neighborhood meetings to continue to talk about priorities of where walkable and where sidewalks and where people want to get to. This project does not have enough funding to continue past First, although I think it's a great idea. We had a past application into AMATS for some funding that specifically also provides for sidewalk for that area, and we scored too low on the list to get that funding. So kind of keep picking away at it, and eventually we'll get all of that in, but not with this project.
Can I ask you this? And if there isn't enough money to go for lighting, or I'm sorry, sidewalk, can we look into more lighting there? I mean, it's dark.
That's something that we could investigate. That's a good idea. We could talk to First Energy, who provides lighting. We could have them look at existing poles and see how might we increase either the intensity of the bulb or the spacing of the lighting. So I can work with Todd to identify that area and ask them.
Thank you. But
Mr. Tiadecki, on, you said Tusk. Is that both sides of Tusk or just the one side?
We were focusing on the north side of Tusk, which has the worst amount of sidewalk that's bad in that
Okay.
area. The south side didn't appear in that one block to contain as much. Doesn't mean that it has sidewalk continuous in that area. None of it appeared to be in that bad a shape to include the project.
Okay. I just asked because I know there's sidewalks on both sides of the street. All right, thank you.
May I have a motion to call this to a vote? Or, sorry, is there sorry, Mayor, you had your hand up, I
Just with the
forgot.
lighting on Van Buren, I know it's dark even when all the lights are functioning. There's a few bulbs that are out that have been turned into Edison for replacement. But as Mr. Teodecki said, we can contact them about adding additional lights.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. With nothing else, may I have a motion to call this to a vote?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, then we have a letter from Todd Shreve, Director of Public Service, requesting legislation to enter into contract with GPD Group, Inc. for general professional engineering services. Emergency wording requested. Please see request. Has everybody seen that? Any remarks on this piece of legislation?
Is this just something like yearly? We go
Yes.
into a fresh contract?
They do our repaving, street repaving. They do a lot of other things,
Yeah.
but in this particular sense,
Yeah.
that's what they do. Anybody else? Okay, may I have a motion to call this for a vote?
I'll make that motion.
No.
You can't.
Oh,
You're not on the.
sorry. I got ahead of myself thinking I'm filling in for
I
him
know what you were
everywhere.
thinking. How about Monty? Can I hear a motion for that?
Well, Justin's there too.
Well, I'll make the motion. Who wants to second it? You fight it out.
second.
All right. May I have a vote? All in
Aye.
favor?
Just trying to help.
All right, I have another letter from Todd Shreve, Director of Public Service, requesting legislation to enter into contract with Cargill Incorporated for the 2025 street/road salt program. Emergency wording requested, please see request. So just to say it out loud, we've committed to 1,800 tons plus or minus 20% for regular white salt, and 300 tons of the enhanced salt with de-icer. Little piece of good news, the price went down again for 2025. Last year, we're paying $50.80. This year, we're paying $43.70. So it's 3 times in a row that's gone down. So, little piece of good news. And for the special salt with the extra stuff, it's $61.22 a ton, just for an FYI. Anybody have anything to say, any remarks on this?
Chair.
I never.
I'm sorry. I know, I'm a parent. I normally don't talk.
You gotta make a noise.
This question is for Mr. Shreve. This special salt that we're doing, don't we have liquid containers, sprayers on our trucks?
So our liquid containers, so that is pre-wetting.
Okay.
So all that is salt brine.
Uh-huh.
So it's the pre-diluted salt, and it wets the salt so that it sticks to the road. It doesn't
okay.
change the activating temperature of the salt. This clear lane, or the salt with de-icer, is good for lower temperatures. So salt stops working right around 10 degrees, regular white salt. So this has an additive that now will take us down to below 0.
Awesome. Thank you, Director. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else? May I have a motion to call this for a vote?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
You ready? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And then we have a referral from Utilities. A letter from Todd Shreve, Director of Public Service, requesting legislation to advertise for bids and services used in the ordinary and daily operation of the municipal departments in the city of Barberton in 2025. Emergency wording requested. Please see, excuse me, please see request. Do I have any remarks about that? Alrighty. May I have a motion to call this for a vote?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we're going to refer something to Parks. A letter from Stacy Carr, Planning Director for the City of Barberton, requesting legislation to vacate approximately 192 linear feet of May Street, starting at the northern parcel line of 1.04367 and moving south towards Coventry Road. We're referring that to Parks. So we won't put that for a vote. Do I have any, this already?
Emily.
Oh, do I still have to do, I'm sorry.
Emily.
I haven't had to do that one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. This question on this one is for the mayor. I know in the Plan Commission, they had concerns of placing the cul-de-sac so close to Coventry Road instead of further up. Has their concerns been resolved with that?
So, yeah, there'll be a curb at Coventry, and the cul-de-sac will be up further. We're saying the same thing, just two different ways. So, yeah, the cul-de-sac will be up further, closer to Worcester Road.
Thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
All right, anybody else? All right, may I have a motion for this?
I'll make that motion.
No, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, now we can go on. All right, do I have any miscellaneous discussion from anybody? From the council? Body? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
No, second.
We are adjourned at 6:10.
Thank you, Ms. Beck. Next up is Environmental Health and Social Services with Mrs. Hager.
Thank you, President Greer. Environmental Health and Social Services meeting in Council Chambers this January 6, 2025 at 6:11 p.m. All members of my committee are present, along with myself as chair, Shorter Griffin, Taylor Thompson, Justin Greer. All of the council members are present, except for our open seat and guests as noted on my list. We have no requests for legislation, no appointments or pending legislation. Is there any miscellaneous discussion? Mr. Mayor, do you have any updates on like fleet counts or anything like that?
I can forward you the reports.
Okay.
But, yeah, they're up.
All right, what about the coronavirus? Because I know that's been going around.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't recall the numbers, but I got the latest reports from the county. I can forward those numbers out to you.
Okay. All right. Any other miscellaneous discussion from my committee or the body gallery? Okay. Then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. In a second.
I'll second.
We are adjourned at 6:12.
Thank you, Mrs. Hager. Next up is Planning, Annexation, and Codes, Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning Annexation Codes is Monday, January 6, 2025, 6:12 p.m. in council chambers. Committee is present, which consists of Councilors Thompson, Harris, President Greer, and myself as chair. All others are noted. We got nothing. I don't see the director here. Mayor, do you have anything for planning?
Not at this moment.
Is anybody from the body? Mr. President.
Website or planning?
No, I was going to save it for rules.
All right. That's all I got. Thank you,
Okay,
Chair.
well, we'll save it for rules then. Are there any other comments, gallery? I just have one thing. The last Planning Commission meeting, obviously we spoke about May Street, but the commission did approve the Truson Farms development to be handled by Ryan Homes. So that's going to be moving forward there. Are there any other comments? Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 6:13.
Thank you, Mr. Heidick. Next up is City Properties, Parks, and Recreation. And it will be Ms. Gearhart as co-chair covering down.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring the City Properties, Parks, and Recreation meeting to order. It is January 6, 2025. The time is 6:13 p.m. and we are in council chambers. Members of this committee are present, myself as co-chair, Mrs. Hager, and President Greer. Other council members as noted, and others as noted on my sheet. We have a couple things to go over tonight. First is a letter from Stacy Carr, Planning Director, requesting legislation to allow City of Barberton to accept 70 15th Street Northwest from Michael Seeby, the owner, as a donation. Emergency wording is requested. Did everybody have a chance to read that request? As I read it, I realized we would have a very excited Mr. Heidick that
Yes.
a building is coming down, so music to his ears.
Very much so.
Do we have any questions or comments on this? Can I get a motion? I'll make a motion. Can I get a second? Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Next, we have a letter from Michael Tiadecki, the city engineer, requesting legislation to enter into contract with Hasenstab Architects. I apologize if I mess that up, for architectural services for the schematic design of City Hall and Justice Center project. Emergency wording as requested. You can see the request, and then we will be referring to finance. Do we have any questions about this?
Yes.
Mr. Heidick had it.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Mr. Heidick?
I'll take it, thank you. What is the difference from these architectural services versus the renderings that we've seen recently?
I just spoke with Mr. Tiadecki before council about that, and he said this is the next step, but he might be able to explain that better.
Sure, the renderings you have are a step in the process. These hone in to the next step of design. For instance, this building went more of a deep dive where we contacted a lot of the managers. We worked directly with the judges on a one-on-one basis to find out, you know, how big the quarters need to be, the direction of flow of the different departments, and we really took this building to a deep dive of where everybody would fit into the building. The First Merit building, on the other hand, we know everybody's going to fit in there based on the size of the building, so not a lot of energy was spent to organize where every department would be and the flow within the department. So this money would take that building to the next level of diving into where everybody fits in and the flow of how the departments would work to kind of get that next step of design. This isn't it for design, this just takes it to the next level.
Thank you.
Mr. Harris?
Since you're, you sat back down. Mr. Tiadecki, according to the request letter here, it says in December, the Barberton Community Foundation awarded a grant to the city for $100,000 for this work. Did the city ever apply for a grant request? How did we get that $100,000?
We applied for it.
Did we ever see that? We did? When did we see that grant request?
I'll have to look for, I don't have the legislation off the top of my head, but yeah, it came in front of the city council.
Was it before us? Before 2024?
Was it the request where we have to give them a building and then at the end of,
No.
that's the different, oh.
I believe this was well over a year ago when we started looking at this.
No, but the grant request was end of November, first part of December.
Was that part of the 500,000, up to 500,000? Because I don't recall the grant request.
Yeah, this initial grant request may have happened. You said it happened. I can't recall it either.
I'd
but
have to
I'm not-
look. I'll have that.
Something tells me it was 2023-ish.
2023?
Well, it had to be before new council.
It's not on the sheet.
Like you're thinking November of '23.
Yeah.
There's not a date on this one.
I would
The
like to see that.
original
I didn't know anything
$100,000
about it.
request.
There's no reference to it.
Or not last week, but last time we were together. Doesn't say the date on there, though.
Well, that doesn't tell me anything that I'd like to know.
So this was the 2024 grants awarded or being used. And it says City Justice Center, BCF, 100,000.
But I don't remember that request.
We'll look it up.
We didn't get it.
Thank
We
you.
already have a note to pull it.
Mr. President. And Mrs. Hager, do you want to leave this here until we find that, or are you okay motioning it out?
Oh, I'm fine with it. We'll
Okay.
look it up. It's only committee.
Okay. Can I get a motion for this?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
Okay. This is a letter from Stacy Carr, Planning Director for the City of Barberton, requesting legislation to vacate approximately 102 linear feet of May Street, starting at the northern parcel line and moving south towards Coventry Road. I feel like we just discussed this in streets, but has anybody thought of any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion for this?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
We have no pending legislation or appointments at this time. Is there any miscellaneous discussion from my committee or the council? From the department heads or the gallery? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 6:20 PM.
Thank you, Ms. Gerhart.
You're welcome.
All right. Public Welfare and Safety, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's January 6, 2025, 18:20 PM. We're in council chambers. I'll call the Public Welfare and Safety Committee to order. Myself as chair, Ms. Gerhart, Mr. Greer, and our open co-chair seat. All other council members are present, including guests noted on my sheet. We have one request for legislation. A letter from Chief Vincent Morber, Barberton Police Department, requesting legislation to renew the city's user agreement with the Summit County Akron Regional Radio System. There's an acronym there, SCARS. Emergency wording requested. Everybody's seen the request. You understand it. We pay $20 a month per radio. Any other questions? No? Can I get a motion to call for this, please?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And that's all we have for that. Any miscellaneous from our committee? From the other council members? Body? Mrs. Eisman, anything?
Can I make a comment about those radios?
Sure.
So the new radios that the department's getting is heavily encrypted more than what it is now. Is Akron going to have that encryption that's going to push forward to those new radios that they're getting?
Yeah, I think they're working all together to get that.
Yeah.
Akron Radio actually works on our radios. So
I didn't
they,
know if they were going to be up to date with the new radio.
yeah, they should be. Yep.
Hasn't went live. Hasn't
Yeah,
went
there's-
live yet.
I think middle of the year, they have to be all up to snuff. So, with that,
Oh, wait.
Mr. Greer.
Real quick, because it's technology intrigues me. When the term encryption is used, is this encrypting the channels, or is this encoding the channels, like full digital encoding, or is it encryption?
It's going to be encrypted.
I think it's all encrypted.
En-
you're not gonna be
Encrypted
able to-
is not being able to listen
Right.
to it on publicly stream.
Right.
Okay. And we do pay extra for that, right?
According to the request letter I got, it's $20 per month, on the user agreement. So that's probably included.
All right. I just want clarification. Thank you, Chair.
Well, Ms. Gerhart.
Mr. President, could you clarify encryption versus encoding?
Sure. I can tell you 1 equals 2, and that's encoding. Or encryption is like you need a secret key to understand what I'm saying.
Okay. So you could crack into something encoded, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
You're not cracking it, it's just encoded. You're changing the format of something.
Okay.
Encryption is completely hiding it, yeah.
Do we have anything else?
No.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
We are adjourned at 18:24 hours.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Harris. All right, Rules, Marking Development, Ms. Gerhart.
I am back up already. All right, I'd like to bring Rules, Marking, and Development Committee to order. It is Monday, January 6, 2025. The time is 6:24 PM, and we are in council chambers. All members of my committee are present, including myself as chair, Mrs. Beck as co-chair, Mr. Heidick, and President Greer. Other council members minus our open seat are all accounted for, and everyone noted on my sheet. We do not have any requests for legislation at this time, but next week I will be bringing in a rough copy of some rules to start to look at. So if you have any suggestions or things you want to see in there, please feel free to send it over to me, maybe let's say by Thursday. And I feel like we're going to have a question about the website or the codes, so if anybody could answer that, I'd appreciate it.
Any day now with the website. It was supposed to be before today, but some last minute updates had happened.
Okay.
Any day now.
Mr. Heidick, do you have any further questions on that? Okay. No pending legislation. I feel like we tackled the miscellaneous, but does anybody have anything else from the gallery? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 6:25 PM.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett.
You're welcome.
City Utilities, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Time is 6:26 PM. I would like to call this meeting to order today, January 6th. We are in council chambers. All members of my committee are present. Myself as chair, Jennifer Hager, Emily Beck, and Justin Greer, and all others noted. We do have one vacancy. We have one request for legislation to call for tonight. A letter from Taj Free, Director of Public Service, requesting legislation to advertise for bids and services used in the ordinary and daily operation of the municipal departments in the city of Barberton in 2025. Emergency wording is requested, and it's also in our request. And we're going to refer this to streets. So streets will have the final say on this. Do I have any remarks from anybody? Do I have a motion to call for this?
I'll make that motion.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Hager. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We don't have any pending legislation at this time. Do we have any miscellaneous discussion for utilities from the body, the gallery, or anybody? Yes, sir, Mr. Hyde.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question with the Worcester Road water line. I can look at it with my own eyes, but I don't obviously understand what I'm looking at. How's the project going with that?
Project's going very well. Kenmore's made very fast progress so far, and they're now, when they can get back out there, they have 2 full dedicated crews, so you're gonna see it going in the ground probably twice as fast coming up here in the upcoming weeks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hyde. Do you have anything else? It's money.
Who handles the city aggregate stuff for like our gas and electric?
So that's handled through our office.
All right, because I think electric's up here soon, May, April.
One
I know it's
in
kinda early,
May
but-
and March, and the other's in October.
Okay.
this year.
All right. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harris. Do we have any more miscellaneous discussion? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Beck. Second?
I'll second.
We are adjourned at 6:29. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Last but not least, Finance and Personnel with Mrs. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. It is Monday, January 6, 2025, 6:29 PM here in council chambers. All members of my committee are present, which includes myself as chair, Mr. Heidig, Mr. Griffin, and Mr. Greer. All other council members are also present with the exception of our vacant Ward 2 seat. We have a referral from Parks, a letter from Michael Tiadecki, city engineer, requesting legislation to enter into contract with Hassan Stab Architects for architectural services for the schematic design for the City Hall and Justice Center project. Emergency wording is requested. have we found out yet when the request to the foundation was made? Or is that something we need to do over our break?
We can do it over break. I was trying to cruise, but we don't have direct access to the archives up here.
Okay. Are there any other questions other than that, Mr. Heidig?
Thank you, Chair. The ask is for 104,200. From where is the other 4,200 coming? What fund? Just curious. Is it coming out of that 6 million that was put aside, or is it coming from elsewhere?
We'll figure that out when we get the PO. I mean, courts have money in the budget. Based on how the contract worked and the reimbursables, it went just over 100,000. So, I mean, the grant was for 100. The city would kick in 4,000 from some means. And I can let you know later when we get that.
Thank you. I just wasn't sure if it was coming off what we already put aside there. Thank you, Chair.
I mean, to answer that question, there's multiple funds, whether it's general fund, it's the courts funds, or it's the ARPA funds that are available.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
I guess this would be thank you, Chair. I guess this would be a follow-up. Mayor, would it come out of funds already set aside for the city building? Because you said general or ARPA.
So ARPA's already set aside. You know, the general fund, we're in the budget process now.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, we're still working through that process. But for $4,200, there'll be funds
Okay.
in one of those three baskets.
I got you. Okay.
Mr. Harris, did you also have a question?
No?
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, how much do we have left in the ARPA funds?
6.1 million.
Everything is spent except for what's been set aside for this project. All true ARPA dollars have been spent. Or earmarked, let me earmark.
Earmarked to be.
It's the beginning of the year, it may not be fully check sent out.
Sure.
Right.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion to call for this, please?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, and a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, we have the finance report for November of 2024.
Starting with the health insurance fund for November of 2024, the revenues were just shy of $334,000. Expenditures just shy of $471,000. Gave us an unexpended fund balance of $1,288,165. Put our net year to date as a negative $516,542. Moving on to the income tax fund, the estimates for the month of November were just shy of 1.1 million. We collected just shy of 1.5 million. We had no transfers in the month of November. We completed the transfers to the general fund in October, so we didn't have any sort of transfers to do in the month of November. Funds that were in the negative at the end of November, same usual funds: city grant fund, the FEMA fund. Well, the city grant fund was a new one. No, that's the sludge to watering building. The FEMA fund is the dam project and the flood mitigation. All these were grants that once we expend the money comes back into us, along with the CDBG fund. That's our federal fund grant there. Another fund in the negative was just the general lighting fund, which in the adjustment ordinance, I had us transfer some money to get that out of the negative. That is just due to our electric bill going up dramatically over the course of a year. So that's what put that fund into the negative. Next fund in the negative was the general liability loss fund. And that was in the negative due to encumbrances outstanding. At the end of the year, the adjustment ordinance, I did ask that you guys approve us to transfer some money into that to get that out of the negative. Moving on to the last 3 months of activity, so that would be September, October, November. You'll notice the general fund did go down by almost 2.8 million. You have to think there was no transfers in the month of November, so there was not that large chunk of revenue coming in from the income tax fund. Not only that, the month of November was a free-pay month for the city, so just having that extra pay, there's more expenses involved. Special revenue funds went up. Once again, that's because we had no transfers in the month of November. Enterprise funds, they went up as well, but you'll notice like the receipts and disbursements, especially the receipts were up quite a bit. Now, part of that is kind of masked because one of the things that the city is required to do for accounting purposes is record in-kind payments or on-behalf payments. So when we enter a lot of these in enterprise funds, it's going to be OWDA projects. So OWDA might make payments on our behalf to the contractor for a project. We have to record the revenue and expense for those payments. It's required for accounting purposes that we record those. So that's why you see 4.2 million in revenue. It's not a true 4.2 million came into the city. A lot of it is just like an in and out accounting journal entry that we have to record those payments. All other funds had a slight increase by $2,000. Moving on to November of 23 to November of 24, you'll notice the general fund is just about the same. It's actually $100,000 less. Special revenue funds were down by about $7 million. A lot of that just ARPA funds being used up. Enterprise funds was down by about $460,000, and all other funds was down by about $200,000. Are there any questions for the month of November? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with no questions for Mr. Blaker, can I have a motion to call for the exception of the finance report?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on, there's no pending legislation. I will go ahead and open it up for miscellaneous if there's anything else from my committee. The body. Anything from the gallery? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And a second?
A second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 6:38.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That concludes our individual committee meetings for this evening. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and begin the committee of the whole.
No.
Too much paperwork.
We back up?
Smart.
I thought you said Rebecca.
We are here, I'm waiting for the web. Yep. Okay.
All right. All right, today is January 6th, 2025. This is a committee of the whole meeting for Barberton City Council. I call this meeting to order at 6:46 PM. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I just checked. There are no citizens addressing council. However, I understand that there is Mr. Summers.
Yes, Mr. Summers is here to give an update on Truson Farm. The development, as stated earlier during committee meetings, the planning commission did approve that development. So Ryan wanted to come in and give you guys an update on what's been transpiring since then.
Thanks, Mayor. Hi, everyone. Ryan Summers. I'm here with the development team for Truson Farm. Wanted just to, as a courtesy, give an update on the project and some positive developments with the development. As the mayor stated, we received approval on December 18th. We've been working for months prior to that with his staff, administration, other stakeholders, planning commission members to address comments, changes. We are now 100% single family. There's no more apartments, approximately 179 units. And I'll let Drew Cook, who's my colleague here, talk about some of the detailed changes. But we're here to answer any questions and really provide an update. We've actually started the project. We're out there in the cold doing some work. Not a lot's going to get done for the next couple of months, but we're really going to, you'll see development activity, and we're really excited about putting a road in. And overall, the project will represent a $64 million estimated investment into Barberton at the end of the day in terms of the total build out, and it will be 3 phases. So Drew, if you want to say a few words about some of the changes we've made and updates.
Good evening. The project will be built in 3 phases, again, all single-family construction. We eliminated the road connection north out to Frisbee and instead made that emergency access only. So it'll be gated on both ends, and fire and utility services will be the only people able to use that, so we weren't disrupting the existing neighbors on Frisbee. So the entrance to the development will be on Turkey Foot. In phase 1, the lift station will also be installed, which serves the entire development. With that, some off-site work will need to be conducted on Harder to replace some existing sanitary pipe to make sure that it has the correct capacity to serve the development. Like Ryan mentioned, construction started. It'll take some time here through the winter, especially with all the snow that we've been getting, to have things go along quickly, but we're targeting a pavement date in June and ideally start selling homes in Q4, so probably the beginning of October next year, this year. Sorry, it is now 2025. We did make some changes to the site plan overall. We have a walking trail and a boardwalk through the wetlands that doesn't impact the wetlands itself. It's more of a recreational and scenic feature. There will be a dog park, a playground, and like a picnic pavilion, all amenities for the neighborhood. Then if you guys have questions at any time through the development, besides tonight, City has all of our contact information, and we're more than happy to give you guys an update on what's going on. Yes.
I just had a question. I know I heard in the planning commission meeting about expanding the exit way onto 619.
That's currently under revision. Yeah, we're working on that.
That was just one of my concerns.
There were a number of conditions of approval that we talked about at planning commissions, and those are all in the works. I should have an updated final site plan for Stacy probably by the end of this week. Engineers, out for the holidays and things, so it took some time to get that put together. And then sometimes later in the month, Mike and the rest of the departments will receive an updated set of improvement plans based on a lot of those comments. And then once those improvement plans are approved, we can get started on ordering materials and things. Yes?
How many houses will be in phase 1?
Phase 1 was
75 on the new road and 3 on Turkey Club, so 78 total.
Thank you.
We'll also submit a homeowners association document that calls all the things that we have to do, hand off to the homeowners, the guidelines that Stacy and team we've been working with in planning commission, and that's in the works as well.
second phase was 55 and the final phase I think was 46.
Thank you.
Everyone's always concerned about stormwater. Of course, we're going through the standard design process with the city. All of our stormwater will be managed on site with our own retention basins, so it will not cause an impact to the surrounding development or the surrounding neighborhoods and wetland areas. Yes?
How much, I know these can go on for decades, but how long do you think it would take you to get from phase 1 to phase 3?
I believe we were looking at, based on the pace the builder suggested, that we were looking at selling out in 2029.
Thank you.
We're hoping it's much sooner. We feel really good about the market demand right now.
Right, it's just a huge shortage. There's not enough on the market.
You made mention about retention ponds. Do you know how many you're gonna have there?
There's 3 in the first phase and 1 in the final. A total of 4. Some of the dirt work for phase 2 and 3 gets done in the first one, so that necessitates putting the basin in at that time. And yeah, it's just the way the design worked out.
Okay.
Okay, you guys have our contact information, so if you need anything, please let us know.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we're going to move into our committee reports, and we're going to start with street, sidewalk, and lighting with Mrs. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, we had several things to talk about. Entering into contract with ODOT for the sidewalks on Van Buren. Entering into contract with GPD Group for their services. Entering into contract with Cargill for our 2025 street and road salt program. We had something referred from utilities, bids and services, advertised for bids and services. And then we referred something out to Parks for getting 192 linear feet of May Street. And with that, I pass.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Beck. Environmental Health and Social Services, Mrs. Hager.
Thank you, Mr. President. Environmental Health and Social Services has nothing to report, and with that, I pass.
Thank you. Planning, Annexation, and Codes, Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning, Annexation, and Codes has nothing to report. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Heidick. City Properties, Park, and Recreation, Ms. Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. President. The City Properties, Parks, and Recreation met this evening. We had 3 things. We had a letter from Stacy Carr about a donation of property in the 5th Ward, and that came out of committee. We had a letter from Mr. Tiadecki, and this was in regards to architectural services for the City Hall and Justice Center. This was referred to Finance. We had another letter from Stacy Carr in regards to May Street. That was referred from Streets. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett.
You're welcome.
Public Welfare and Safety, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Welfare and Safety met this evening. We had one request for legislation. It was a letter from Chief Vincent Werber, Barberton Police Department, requesting legislation to renew the city's user agreement With the Summit County Akron Regional Radio System, SCAR's emergency wording requested, and it was voted out of committee, and that was the only request that I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Rules, Market and Development, Ms. Gerhart.
The Rules, Marketing, and Development Committee has nothing to report this evening, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Ms. Gerhart. City Utilities, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Utilities met tonight in council chambers. We have one request for legislation. A letter from Todd Reed, Director of Public Service, requesting legislation to advertise for bids and services used in the ordinary and daily operation of the municipal departments in the city of Barberton in 2025. Emergency wording was requested, and we're going to refer this to streets. A motion was made, and it was voted on and passed. With that, I passed.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Finance and Personnel, Mrs. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance and Personnel met this evening here in council chambers at 6:29. All members of the committee were present, as well as all other council members, with the exception of our Ward 2 vacancy, obviously, as well as guests as noted on my sheet. We had a request that was referred from Parks, a letter from our city engineer, Mike Tiedecke, requesting legislation to enter into contract with Haas and Saab Architects for architectural services for the schematic design for the City Hall and Justice Center project. Emergency wording is requested. There was a little bit of discussion about this in regards to where the additional funds are coming from, as well as when the grant request was made. Also had the presentation of the finance report for November of 2024. No pending legislation, no miscellaneous discussion, and we adjourned at 6:38. With that, I will pass.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That concludes our committee reports for this evening. I just have a couple things. Hope everybody had a happy new year. We're back at it. Now we are reset for everybody in the room. Council did meet on January 2nd with all the applicants that applied for the Ward 2 vacancy seat. And all the applicants were interviewed. And today we will be holding a special directly after Committee of the Whole to entertain, have conversation, and possibly vote on that appointment. Other than that, I don't have anything. Is there anything from the body? Anything from department heads? Mayor's report?
Thank you, Mr. President. We're continuing our collection of non-perishables and toiletries for the rest of this month. Also collecting monetary donations. All donations, checks can be made out to either Backham or the Salvation Army. We're seeing an increased need throughout the community, but also unprecedented donations from individuals and businesses. So I thank them for stepping up to address the need. Change for Change this month will be on January 24th at the VFW, benefiting Quilts of Valor in remembrance of former Councilwoman Joyce Coburn. She was very active in Quilts of Valor, and especially with our employees who are veterans. As mentioned, the radio replacement project with the Service Department and Police is moving forward. If you recall, we applied for a grant, got a little bit of money for that, but the radios were researched, purchased, ordered, and the install started today. So it'll only take a few days to get through all that. So, and I believe the month that everything goes obsolete is July. So it's way ahead of that. Lastly, received a question on certain roads in the New Haven development not being plowed. These roads are not dedicated yet, so if you get calls, they're not dedicated yet. We're working with the developer, we're working with other organizations like Ohio Edison. Everything has to be done before we go up and inspect it. So street lights have to be put in, that means conduit has to be run, which means, you know, on the city side, storm sewers have to be up to our standard. So that has not been requested by the developer, should be pretty soon. So we can't go on there and remove snow. We did meet about it internally today. I did talk to the developer today. And I know Mr. Schwede reached out to Ohio Edison, so we're all kind of working in unison to make sure that that moves forward quickly. Because there are residents living up there, you know, coming and going, school buses, things like that. So you want to make sure that we can provide for them. So if you get any questions, please reach out to us. I sent an email to their HOA, so hopefully that gets circulated to all the residents as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. With nothing else, this meeting is adjourned at 7:01 PM. With no objections, I'd like to roll right into this special meeting. All right. Today's January 6, 2025. It is a Monday. This is a special meeting called by myself. Call this meeting to order at 7:02 PM. We'll forego the Pledge of Allegiance since we just did that today. And the purpose of this meeting is to have discussion and possibly entertain a vote for Ward 2 Council. We can't have any discussion outside of the Ward 2 seat or the applicants. So, Mr. Harris?
I'd like to make a motion that we set up times for second interviews, please.
Is there a second? Mrs. Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to second Mr. Harris's motion to set up second interviews for candidates.
All right. A motion was made by Mr. Harris and seconded by Mrs. Thompson to schedule applicants for a second meeting or second interview. Having said that, just want to make it to clarify on the motion. Do we have a list of applicants? All of the applicants?
All of them.
All of them?
Yes, please.
Okay. And for this second meeting, this is just a discussion on this before we call for a vote on this. Do we want to update the structure, time?
I think a
time
little
length of
bit more,
interviews?
a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Half an hour?
A little bit more time,
40
and
minutes?
I would like to be able to ask our own questions
Okay.
versus the ones
A
boilerplate.
single
Yeah.
one of our own,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Well, that's kind of what we plan for redundancy. Okay. Again, I'll just reiterate, a motion was made by Mr. Harris and second by Mrs. Thompson to schedule for a second round of interviews with all the applicants for the vacant Ward 2 seat. Are there any other remarks? Mr. Heidick?
Thank you, Mr. President. In second interviews, when it comes to questions, is this going to be stock questions for everybody?
We don't have no more stock questions.
But what I'm saying is, let's say Counselor Beck has one question, will the same question be asked of every candidate? Because I feel that not having the same question to every candidate is kind of targeting each person individually instead of what they all bring as the whole for each question.
I understand that. Would it make sense to submit a list of questions pre-interview?
No, I don't think
No?
so. Each of our, because we all got to ask
Yeah,
one
I-
question.
we
They
run it
had
the
to
same
ask
way as we
one to
did
the same
before.
person.
I think personally that it's kind of opened the floor on the second interviews. We've already asked those. This is to
I think they get more specific.
get
Yeah.
more information because the interviews were only they were only scheduled for 20 minutes, right? And if this motion goes through, I'm assuming Mr. Harris and Mrs. Thompson at least agree that's getting more time to know the applicants before making a final decision. So,
Correct.
but I do see your point, Mr. Heidick.
I feel without a structure, there shouldn't be, it points to questions could get towards different candidates that could be perceived as harsher towards one and more friendly to others when those questions would be avoided towards the others.
Yeah, I just hate to do a boilerplate for second round and not have anything answered when questions might be had for one candidate that don't apply for a second, or for anybody else. So we'll open up the floor for this. We'll make our interviews a half an hour. Does that work?
Yes, please.
Okay. It'll be a night to be determined at this point, because, I mean, we could talk about it now if you want. Well, it's not, the vote hasn't happened, so. Okay, are there any other comments? All right. All those in favor of scheduling a second round of interviews, say aye.
Aye.
Nay?
Nay.
One nay? All right. The ayes have it. Do note that by scheduling a second round of interviews, that will forego the vote for appointment tonight. The next round of interviews will be held at a date to be determined, because, well, we'll just have to figure out what works for everybody. But I'd like to have that set like this week, tomorrow,
Yeah, as soon as
Wednesday,
possible.
as soon as possible.
Why don't you guys all email me what night of the week, not Monday, is good for you? Majority rules. If the majority can be here on Thursday night, then I will schedule it on a Thursday. Does that work?
I would like to have all council here.
It works for me.
All have to be here.
But that's how I'm picking the date.
Yeah. So
How about we all have that in Delory by noon tomorrow?
it's a little soon, but as soon as possible, by Wednesday.
I mean, our availability sent over to
Sure.
Lori. Okay.
By Wednesday. That way we can,
Are we stuck on 6 o'clock, or can I do it early? Since we're doing 30 minutes times 5.
6, yeah, I understand
Someone
that.
works
I would go till 2 o'clock in the morning if we have to. It's our duty to do that, but
Yes.
we would need to make sure the applicants have
be
the
here.
available time to show up, so it would have to be at later in the evening. Yeah. So just keep that in mind, have those in by Wednesday, and we'll reach out to all the applicants and schedule the second round of interviews.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right, with Mr. Heidick?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have one more comment. The more you said it's our duty to make this appointment, it is our duty, and it is also our duty not to deny Ward 2 their ward rep. So any more delay on this is delaying that ward, their voice over there in that empty chair.
I completely agree. So that's why we'll get it.
So we have at large.
We go as many rounds as we need to, but keep in mind, we have 30 days to do this, and I don't want to push it all the way to the 30 days. I want to get this done as soon as possible.
We also owe them due diligence.
Correct. All right. Ms. Gehart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Are we allowed to take a vote on that meeting if we put it in the executive request? That we'll do a vote later
That would be
that
voting
night?
that night, you mean? Yeah, I'll structure it that way if council feels like they
Yeah.
want to structure it that way. So we won't do it
Would
in
that
executive
help for
session.
time
We'll
session?
come out and we'll have a proper agenda for that afterwards.
Does that help with Mr. Heidick's,
I mean,
the timeframe?
it speeds it up.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Are there any other comments real fast? Anything? All right, with nothing else, this meeting is adjourned at 7:10 PM. Thank you.